Here, Benny. Got too much wax in my
Good morning,
ear.
Eastern Oregon, and welcome to this March 14th version of AM Live on EOA. Your connection to Eastern Oregon, and we're on the EOA network.
I didn't know we were that close.
Here in a little bit, we're going to
earpiece.
have Union County Commissioner Paul Anders here with us.
Today's Pi Day.
Pi Day.
Yeah, it's the most iconic irrational number on the earth.
Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, there you go. I mean, people talk about it all the time.
I know. It is like, yeah, that is so.
You know when the ultimate Pi Day was? On this day in 1592.
Okay.
At 6:53 a.m., it's the largest correspondence between calendar dates and significant digits of pi. So on 3/14/1952 at 6:53 a.m., it's the first digits.
Are those 195?
3.141592653558.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Odd. 1592 was the day. Yeah. What about, there's 9 people running for commissioner now. 9. That's got, I think that's a record. It's got to be.
I know it's
Got to. It has to be.
I think it's awesome. I mean,
It just shows that people are interested.
Yeah, I'm super surprised, but I think it's great.
It's good to know that our, the county is, people are interested in what happens here.
Yeah. And you and I talked about this. What is a little bonkers is that, like on the LeGrand City Council, so
Yeah, nobody.
all
Everybody-
4 of those positions are running unopposed.
I can't.
It's like,
That's like ludicrous to me. Like 2 years ago, everybody was worried about, and then now all of a sudden you're going to have 2 city council members that are going to run unopposed to take their seat back, and a new person coming in running unopposed.
Right.
So I'd like to see a little more.
Well, I think there's 3.
interest.
3 unopposed.
But the commissioner job is a paid job.
No. But
right?
I'm talking about. But I think there are 4 unopposed city positions. Maybe I've got it wrong.
Oh well, if you're counting the mayor.
Right.
Yeah, the 4th would be Justin.
Right.
Yeah.
So two council members and the mayor.
Every 2 years, 3 seats come open, and the mayor.
Yeah. So
But-
So last year there was so much attention, sometimes negative attention about the city council positions, and they were all disputed. That's not quite the right word. They were all
they were all
contended for.
contended,
you know. And now this year nobody's. Yeah.
I wonder if that's kind of cyclical. Is that the right word? Cyclical, yeah.
I don't know.
Like people wait for the 4-year, or
I don't know. I think it's.
But you see a lot more people running for commissioner because it's a paid job. And city council is not.
Well, city council is paid, but it's not. It's minuscule.
Not much. Yeah.
It's like
it's
minuscule.
Not,
Yeah, it's like, I think it's $75 a month. So, and a lot of the counselors, including Justin Rock, one of our sponsors, and also just a super good dude, he donates that money back to a scholarship, or a lot of the city council members do that.
But if somebody gets commissioner, they ain't donating that. That's a job. That's like a real salary. That's like I don't know. I don't even know what they make. They got to make like 50,000-60,000 a year.
Yeah, I think it's probably that.
I've never looked. I mean, it's public knowledge, but
Right.
I'm not that interested. I'm never going to be a commissioner. I'm not into the politics. So.
But it's way more involved than a city council position, or even the mayor.
Way more involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's different. It's completely different. Like you're doing stuff with all different facets of everything in the whole county. We'll hear more about it today.
Well, and part of it is like in LeGrand, a lot of the day-to-day operations are run by the city manager. And that's why
he's paid.
And he's paid, yeah. Yep. And so and the county does have a similar position. Shelley Burgess is kind of that position in the county, and she's full time. But it's just a little different climate. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never been interested in politics. I know how necessary they are, like especially local.
Yeah.
But like I can do more for people by just like staying uninvolved. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's not my thing. Like I don't want to talk about politics. It's not fun to me.
Well, and I know way more about it than what I did 6 months ago.
Well, I know way more about it from just sitting here
Right.
listening to
Right.
everybody that comes on here talking about it and, like doing the.
Yeah.
But it's still just like I would fall asleep.
You just like, yeah.
It's a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
And I hate meetings. You see me, I can't even focus in a 1 hour meeting here, let alone if I
staff
had like
meeting. It's
6
like,
meetings
"Hey, Kyle,
a
are you
day.
here?"
Yeah. I'm like checking my
Can I
phone,
just
running
phone
to
this in?
getting up, pacing, and
Yeah.
this is how it is.
But when you have an opinion,
Yeah, well, yeah. If there's something that needs to be ironed out, I can focus. But
Yeah.
it's like when we're just, going through the motions of normal
Yeah.
stuff, I just get like,
yeah.
But
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, no, it's a wild climate right now. Well, you want to do sports?
let's do it.
All right.
AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Even though I have a Rock and Sons hat on today, Northwest Furniture and Mattress, man, they have a great selection of American-made furnishings for your home. Awesome mattress selection. I mean, if you go in there, you'll see. It's awesome. They want to make you comfortable in your own home. LHS softball kicks off their season today at home versus Enterprise Joseph Willow. It's a conglomeration team. That game starts at 3 p.m. down at Pioneer Park, and I think it's on Sam Markham. So I think it's on the field that's right there by the baseball field, not on the new softball field. LHS baseball won't start their season until next Tuesday. That'll be a home game here versus Mac High at 4 p.m. This Saturday, EOU men's and women's track and field outdoor season starts. They're going to split between the Pacific Northwest Invite in Corvallis and the Electric Forest Collegiate Open in Portland. So Coach Welch will send some of the people to Corvallis and some to Portland based on, like what they're competing in and where they are, as progressively as an athlete. EOU women's basketball plays in the first round of the national tournament tomorrow. They are in Great Falls, Montana. That game will start at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and it'll be against the University of Providence. And this is you lose, you're out. So, I mean, they got to win. The opening round they'll play the first 2 rounds in Great Falls, and if they win if they win 2 games, then they'll go to the final site. So we'll see. I mean, they ended up 4th in the conference. They were picked to win it. They're a good team. They're 21-7. They've had some good wins this year. EOU baseball's at home this weekend versus Bushnell. Games are down at Optimist Saturday, 12-3, and then Sunday 11-2, and then EOU softball's at home this weekend as well. They will take on a tough UBC team with games on Friday at 2 and 4 and Saturday at 11 and 1. They're at Peggy Anderson Memorial, which is up on EOU's campus. This week I sat down with EOU junior pitcher Kylie Parsons and senior third baseman Gates Leatherwood. Have a look. So growing up in Pendleton, what's the thing that you love most about Eastern Oregon?
I think just being up in the mountains too, and then just the community we have. I feel like we're very close.
Is it weird for you to be, like you grew up in Pendleton? Is it weird to be playing softball in LeGrand? Like
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be, right?
Yeah, because it's always been, every time we played LeGrand, it was always so close, so competitive.
Always for years. All right, last question. I'll get you out of here.
Okay.
If Nicole sat me in front of you and said, recruit Doddsy to come play softball at EOU, what are you going to tell me?
Like what would it take to come play here? Basically?
No, recruit me to come play. Like,
Rec-
tell me why I should come play softball at EOU.
Oh, why you should? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I think that we playing at EOU. I love this area. I love my teammates. I've built a really strong connection with a lot of my friends here, and I think that's probably the biggest driving force for me
of what I've loved here so much is my friends that I've made on my team. I think that we have very competitive culture, and we're always pushing each other to do better and play better. So.
And to wrap it up, EOU Women's Lacrosse has a home game this Saturday, the 16th at 3 o'clock versus Corbin. So if you're bored on Saturday, there's plenty of EOU sports, baseball, softball, lacrosse, softball on Friday, baseball on Sunday. It's a big weekend for EOU for here in LeGrand, so go check them out. AM Sports Report brought to you by Northwest Furniture and Mattress. Go check out their showroom. The Daggett family, the showroom's absolutely beautiful. They want to make you comfortable in your own home.
All righty. Cool.
Yeah.
And let's look outside.
Let's look outside.
Yeah. It's kind of pretty this morning.
It's not bad.
No,
It's nice and clear.
And I haven't looked at the weather forecast since we did it on Tuesday, but
It's going to get all the way up into the 60s.
pull that graphic up and yeah.
Look at that. 69 on Monday. Ooh.
Yeah. So then this weekend with the EOU outdoor sports be a
Perfect.
be a great time.
No rain. It's going to be sunny, sunny,
Yeah.
sunny, sunny.
Yeah.
That's 4 days of just beautifulness.
Yeah, that's crazy. You kind of wonder is this spring?
I don't think so. I think we're still going to get.
We're going to get
Yeah, we're
snookered
getting
by a
crapped on
snowstorm
one more
here.
time.
Yeah, somewhere
Yeah.
along the line.
I think so.
Yeah. So
I hope not, but I think that he's got one up his sleeve for us. I do.
yeah, I don't. The crop. We'll have to talk to Paul about how that affects farming because you have, crop startup, and the danger is that it could freeze
It's
or
not
whatever.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it starts getting nice for like a strip of days in a row and then
Yeah.
it freezes, that's not good.
Yeah. So. All righty. Well, hey, let me mention Valley Insurance this morning. Appreciate them being one of our sponsors. They are in the old Umpqua Bank building in downtown LeGrand. Appreciate their investment in filling buildings that sat empty for a while. And if you haven't had a chance, go in and check out their remodel. That is also where WorkSource Oregon is the other part of their building. But appreciate Matt and Joel and their investment in downtown and also in being one of our sponsors. So here in just a minute, we are going to have Union County Commissioner Paul Anders here with us right in just a minute.
Eastern Oregon is full of interesting people, with interesting minds and interesting things to say. Here at EO Live, we're committed to connecting you to these intriguing people with EO Talks. We let our special guests share their ideas and life experiences with deep, open, engaging, and inquisitive conversations. You'll also be informed in depth on some of the most recent and relevant events, issues, and more. EO Talks on EO Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku. Here in Eastern Oregon, we're blessed to live in such a wonderful area. And though it may seem mild-mannered, there's actually quite a lot that goes on in this area. And apparently, there's two dinguses who happen to be here that are actually crazy enough to get up at the crack of dawn to talk about it. Tune into AM Live on EOA with Brent and Dodsey, featuring special guests, weather, sports, news, and more, every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 a.m., only on EOA Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku.
For that one because I don't get the other one.
Yeah, okay, we're back with County Commissioner Paul Anders, and we were talking about the choice that people have in the county commissioner race that's coming
Right.
up. Yeah, you said 9 people?
9 people in it as of the filing deadline on Tuesday. And like I was just mentioning to you, what I like about that is that I think that there will be someone that anybody could or a person can find someone that they can get behind and,
Right.
and feel comfortable voting for, rather than going, "Ooh, I don't like this one, so I'm going to vote for that one."
Right.
Situation. And to that point, the filing deadline, I was in Salem on Tuesday, and it's a little bit unique, but they open up the House floor. Anyone can walk onto the House floor. There are rules: no food, no drink. You can't. You're not supposed to touch any of the representatives' desks or chairs or anything. But they've got great big tote boards with every House and Senate race, plus all the statewide race, which would be Secretary of State, Treasurer, Attorney General. And it was interesting watching it, because they just listed them all out by. And you'd go, "Oh, so-and-so doesn't have any competition this time." And then a little while later, there would be, because it's in real time that they update that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we didn't stay towards the end because we had to get back home. But it goes from there to, they have kind of a kickoff election season events for the two parties.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. I'd never been on the House floor, and that was a treat.
And I had no idea what was involved when I threw my hat in the ring, but this is a thing. I mean, and not only at the county level, but there's a whole ton of state stuff, hoops that have to be jumped through and boxes that have to be checked, and if you get it wrong, it can be very serious and lots of fines, and yeah.
Right. And, you know, I said it many, many times. I love my job, but there are times where it does slow down.
Right.
And you're thinking, what should I be doing?
Yeah.
And then, you know, Tuesday and yesterday were pretty good examples of full days.
Yeah.
Tuesday started my day right at 6 o'clock in the morning, had multiple meetings. And then I would call it a small group of Eastern Oregon commissioners. There were 6 of us that got to sit down face to face with the governor and talk to her about some issues that we're having, and also to compliment her on some of the things she's done. For me, I think it was huge that she came out to Union County, actually all 36 counties, because I mean, east of the Cascade, she was clearly not in the majority. But I'm glad she did. She listens well. Point in case, I mean, and we had a lot of different topics that we talked about. Talked about rural mental health and getting a better system built around that. Fairgrounds funding, DEQ and Water Resources Department and how they're working, ODOT, Oregon Water Resources Department Director. One of the commissioners from Klamath Fall wanted to borrow a state dredge. I didn't even know the state owned a dredge. And Commissioner,
What garage do you park that in?
right. Well,
Yeah.
it's on the coast, and they want to use it in Klamath Falls. So their discussion became, how do we get there?
Wow.
And we talked about the Wallowa Lake Dam, public health modernization, and then the one that I talked to her about was that, you know, we just had the resolution about fentanyl in our county, and I think it was really good that we established where we are as a county in that resolution. But like I said in the meeting, if we don't address the problem more aggressively, we're never going to solve it. And that's why we suggested that the sheriff, the district attorney, and you mentioned Shelley earlier, Shelley Burgess, who is great at her job, go through the budget. It's a pretty slim budget, but find some money to put towards battling that.
Yeah.
And so when I was in front of the governor, I talked about, in my wallet, I have a list of 7 names. All 7 of those names are former students that have died of overdose.
Wow.
Just I mean, that's not a very big population pool
Right.
when you think
Right.
about it.
Right.
And asked for help, and she said she would speak to the appropriate people. And since it's so preliminary, I don't want to go into too many details about it. And I thought, okay, she listened, she responded, but again, there were 6 of us, and we had about 45 minutes.
Right.
I mean, her schedule is pretty darn tight.
Right.
And and she just able to click right through it. We didn't have a script, but we talked about who was going to talk about which point and
Right.
things like that. Interestingly enough, I ended up going to multiple meetings after that, and then got to the House floor, and then got home about 8:30. So that was a pretty full day.
Right.
8:45, my phone dinged, and I thought, I'll look at it here in a little while. I looked at it probably 5 minutes later. Governor Kotek sent me a text and said, "Thank you for sharing about the overdose deaths. It's tragic. I was talking about it with the First Lady, and I will commit to do what I can to help you solve your problem." And in those meetings, you never know
Right.
whether you're making an impact or not. I thought, when she said, I'll visit with the superintendent, it was done then, but
Right.
clearly not. I mean, she obviously internalized it, talked about it with her family, and I'm hopeful that we can get some help here in Union County to help battle that.
Yeah. And what did that look like? I mean, if you could say, this is what we need, what is it that we need? Well, I'm sorry, and let's back up for just a minute. So explain to us what a resolution is and how it fits in the order of trying to get the attention of the state or whomever.
Right.
Yeah.
Resolutions can come in basically one form, but a variety of different topics. And what you do is you list what are facts, and then you resolve something. So whereas we've got overdose deaths in our county, whereas fentanyl is rampant, and I'm paraphrasing.
Right.
Be it resolved that we are going to do even more to address the situation. So what is a very public declaration of your intent on what you're going to do about a problem. Or the other way that resolutions are used, it's a resolution of support, because the whichever group contributes to our community, provides for our youth, et cetera, be it resolved that we want to recognize them for their good work.
Okay.
So they can be kind of ceremonial. Actually, they are, in my view, kind of ceremonial, but they also serve a purpose as kind of putting people on notice that this is a focus.
This is a thing, yeah. And so, and above that is you could declare an emergency.
We could have, yes.
Okay, which a county, at least one county did go.
Right.
From our conversation, you and I
Right.
talked
One
about this
county
all day.
did do that. Part of the problem, and again, I want to always rely on the advice, or for steering my decisions, the advice of our professionals that work for us. And
Right.
our emergency manager said, we can do that. However, it's going to set us up for the next one, that you can overuse the emergency.
Right. It's like crying wolf. Yeah.
Right.
Couldn't the state declare it an emergency? We have the highest per capita in the whole country. You know that. We have the highest
Governor Kotek
overdose
did.
fatality.
Yeah.
Oh,
Governor
okay.
Kotek did, and then beyond that, the mayor of Portland and the chair of Multnomah County's commission, all three of them declared an emergency virtually in downtown Portland. Not all of Portland, not all of Multnomah County, but that very one center core.
Oh, I was just
City
there.
center.
I was just there.
Yes, city.
I was just there. I saw it.
Yeah, city
firsthand.
center is what task force is what they did. So, and that really led me to get to thinking about how, if possible, she might be able to help us. Excuse me. So, in that city center declaration, she directed Oregon State Police to put extra troopers in downtown Portland to supplement Portland Police Bureau.
Right.
And so I got to thinking about it, and after the declaration, I think you were there.
I was, yeah.
We invested, like I said, we're talking about adding some money to the drug task force and some for the investigations through different departments. And I thought, I'm going to ask her for a state trooper to be on our drug task force. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And I said, you did it for Portland. I'm not asking for a whole bunch. I'm asking for one to be
Right.
on our drug task force. And that's when she said she would speak to the superintendent, which, and then that
Yeah.
led to other.
So then that's a way that she can respond to this in a manner
Right.
that will make a difference for us.
I believe so, yes. Well, and as I was telling her, I mean, Measure 110 reforms that just passed the legislature, I think that's a good first step. I don't think it's the final step. And there's been this conversation about really trying to get those that are in addiction help, but also getting the supply off the street. Get the dealers, get, if you will, some of the cartels, and I am not familiar with it to know who's doing what. But,
Yeah.
and that's why I think it's great that Sheriff Bowen has reinstituted our drug task force. We've had 2 pretty high-profile cases, arrests, multiple arrests and cases, and with the help of the state police being on that too, which they were at one time. I think it would help. And I've had conversations with Sheriff Bowen and Captain Connor of Oregon State Police, very preliminary. And one of the things is we're really jumping the system. Normally, they would say Union County, Northeast Oregon's having a problem with drugs, and then it would go through the system, and then the superintendent would direct help. Oregon State Police Superintendent would direct help to our county or our region.
Right.
And in this, we're, like I said, we're hopping to the front of the line because the governor can make those you shall.
Yeah.
And she's pretty thoughtful about things from the little bit I've been around her. And I think that moving that forward to the front of the line, if you will, it will get the action we need and hopefully make a dent in the products that are coming in here that I can't imagine anybody being in favor of them being in our county.
No. Speaking of Sheriff Bowen, he says thank you so much for that, and I'm pretty sure he's commenting on the fact that you asked for a state trooper on the drug task force.
Yeah. And I will tell you, I was really kind of nervous because, I mean, this is out of my wheelhouse. And I didn't want to get out of bounds and step on Oregon State Police or Sheriff Bowen's turf, but having conversations with them, and they were just very preliminary because I had no idea whether this is going to work or not. Still don't know if it's going to work, but I really felt that I had to do something. And if we can get product off the street and we can save one life, that effort to me is worth it.
Right. And it's such a, I mean, we all see that, you know, and I think that in moving through the other process is slow. That is, I mean, that's the way, that's the quagmire that there are so many things that are caught in.
Right.
Yeah.
And state police have, I mean, they've got a lot of responsibilities. I mean, investigations, traffic control, I mean, any number of things. I mean, we saw it, was that last summer or 2 summers ago when there was the individuals that were shooting guns, and there were state troopers that were coming from all parts of the state at a high rate of speed. So their portfolio really does cover a lot of different topics.
Well, and a lot of people don't know, and I didn't know this either, that like when it comes to having a crime lab or investigations or whatever, I mean, a county like Union County doesn't have the resources to have that. And so then the state picks up that. So then they're the ones, so it's not just the state troopers that are out there that you see that are patrolling the Oregon highways. There is a whole infrastructure that supports law enforcement that a lot of people have no idea. So then if there's some kind of a crime even at the city level, then
they can tap into that.
Yep. Yeah. So
yeah, and it's you know, I think often that I should have done something sooner. You know, when I look at that list, it's heartbreaking. Some of them were like, I know I'm not supposed to have favorites in the classroom, but really were. I mean, their personalities were such, and you know, and I know that in this town, I've got one in particular that I worry about a lot, who is clearly addicted and tried to get him, not me, but many people have surrounded him, tried to get him help, and he is really in the throes of addiction. And when I hear about an overdose, I really am concerned that it's going to be him, which would be, and not that any of them aren't tragic, but that one would, to me, would be, I mean, because of the connection I had with him in the classroom and shop.
Right, and it's not, you know, I mean, we think of it, addiction, it's not always in the way that, I mean, in my mind, you think of someone who's shooting it into their arm, or I mean, that's kind of what I think when I think of addiction. But I have a friend who got addicted to painkillers, and then, you know, because he had surgery, and this is not an uncommon path, okay?
Yes.
No, it's the most common.
Right, yeah. So it becomes, he became addicted to painkillers, and then since he couldn't get those pills to take care of the addiction that he had through his surgery, then he bought illegal painkillers, and they were laced with fentanyl, and he died. Yeah, and that is, so it's not, you know, it's not the traditional thing of what we think about someone who is, I mean, it's just mushroomed. It's a much bigger audience. It's a much bigger impact than what it has been in the past.
For sure.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Well, and I don't want to drill too deep on this one, but and the governor said, you know, we are in a situation now where young people in particular cannot experiment.
Right.
Because of we've seen it way too many times. One experiment and they're dead, like you said. It's not good, and young people tend to want to try different things out, especially if they're, you know, maybe a little bit on the shady side. But yeah, so my hope is that it works. My thanks is that she's listening and potentially providing us some relief.
Well, and kudos to Governor Kotek for doing, I mean, you hear politicians will say, yeah, once I'm elected, I'm still representing everyone. Mm-hmm. And there are times that we haven't seen that in the past, and you know, she's listening. And
yes, she is.
And she's actively, I mean, she's she's doing the work.
Right.
You know, and that's really good.
Right.
Let me back up just a little bit, and I've had a lot of people ask me, well, what does a commissioner do? And I know you and I have spent some time talking about that. Mm-hmm. What would you? So I want you to say, what does a commissioner do? What is their job, and how much power do you have? Yeah.
Well, it's a power question. Sometimes surprisingly little, and then other times, you know, like this instance, you have a fair amount of influence,
right?
And even influence with the legislature. And if I can take a little side trail to talk about that, I mean, the short session just ended up. We were able to get a bill that I've been working on for quite some time, and that's county right-of-way, which is, generally speaking, the area that the county still owns on the side of the road,
right,
where utilities generally are placed. We have a permitting process so that we know who's there. And where this really came to light was a few years ago when a farmer called me and said, hey, are they putting in new power poles out here? And I went and looked at what they had, and they had the little wire plastic flags that said new pole.
Right.
So went back to Public Works, checked, and they were not where they were supposed to be. And so that kind of led to this conversation with the Association of Oregon Counties, who was already working on the legislation to get it so that we could recoup some of our costs associated with administering those fees. 5 years. Last summer, Senator Finley and Senator Gorsuch, it actually started here during the Economic Summit, convened a interim work group, and counties and utilities sat down and hammered out an agreement. It got to Salem, got changed a little bit, got changed a little more, a lot of back and forth, and I'm kind of happy to say that we have a bill that is headed to the governor's desk at this point.
Awesome.
So, and part of it is I don't think everybody got everything they wanted, which is probably a pretty good way to legislate. rather than all for one and none for the other.
So, and how does that bill change the scenario that you talked about earlier about the farmer who said, are these poles going in?
What it does is it allows, in my view, lets our county of public works folks be able to dedicate some time to that rather than issuing a permit, knowing where it is and have it sit in a drawer.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, that's overstating it, but they invest a lot of time and energy into making sure they're in the right place, not cutting someone else's utility, whatever that might
Right.
be, and then putting it back to the way it was rather than just, oh, and then the other one is traffic control.
Right.
To make sure that, you know, their workers are safe, the public moving through there is safe, and I think it's going to take a little bit of relief, or put a little relief in the equation for our county works budget. It's not going to be huge, but at least we're not having to rob Peter to pay Paul.
Right, right, okay. So then, all right, well, and so then you're saying that was one of the, you started with that because that's
right.
one of the ways you were able to influence.
Right, yep.
Okay, yeah.
And then House Bill 4133, which was wildfire funding,
Okay.
easy for me to say, was another one. And I started last fall in Ontario in an interim work group, or excuse me, not an interim, meeting with the interim work group and Senator Steiner, and she's chair of Ways and Means. As far as the financial side of the Oregon legislature, she's got a significant amount of control over the checkbook, if you will. And that moved through, I thought, pretty well. Again, some give and take. And then at the very last moment hit a snag, which was really discouraging because we'd put so much time and energy into it. One of the funding sources that they were planning on using from the state, it was unconstitutional to use it in that matter, which, again, pretty frustrating. And then the Measure 110, which I mentioned earlier, those were, you know, a lot of negotiations on that. I want to thank, in particular, our sheriff, our district attorney, and their statewide associations. They really had an impact on the legislature, communicating to them that the system that we are in is very, very broken.
Yeah.
So, again, I think it's a good first step. I don't believe that it goes far enough. But
So then the influence that you have as a commissioner is you have a pathway to lobby essentially
Yes,
for
right.
on behalf of
Right.
Union County.
And in our county, and every county is a little bit different, it's taking that step. It's being in Salem for the Association of Oregon Counties meetings,
Right.
and walking out of those meetings and going over to the State House and having a conversation not only with our representative, Levy, or Senator Hansel, which they always welcome us with open arms and are very receptive to conversations, but taking a walk across the aisle, if you will, and talking to those from different areas that have different priorities and beliefs than you do.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those conversations, I all but guarantee you, you're not going to get anything through that legislature.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So it's kind of like a spotlight. You can shine spotlights on different
Yeah,
issues.
that's a great way to
influence.
put it.
Yeah.
And then other times, you know, someone will come up to me and say, what the county needs to do, and I would say, I fully agree with you, but that is not in our, we can't even control any of that.
Right.
And it might be, you know, a City of LeGrand issue.
Right.
It might be a state issue.
Right.
Might be a federal issue.
Right.
And, you know, if I could wave a magic wand, there's a lot of things I could change, but I just don't have that. I mean, I can make sure that message is carried forward.
Right, right. And so then those things where the state has restricted Union County in such a manner, you can make sure that that voice is heard on it. You can say, you know, again, kind of like what you did. You have the ability to pass feedback forward.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, especially during the darkest days of COVID, we were having very frequent conversations with the governor's office, Oregon Health Authority.
Right.
And saying this is not working for us.
Right.
And there was a coalition of Eastern Oregon commissioners that really worked hard. If you remember, we got the small rural schools open first. And it was a lot of work. And then the next meeting was like, okay, this is seems to be working okay. We're excited to get the kids back into school in front of their teachers. How do we get a school the size of LeGrand in there?
Right.
And I was told very matter-of-factly, Paul, you better be happy with what you got. And my answer to that is, I'm not happy with what I got.
Right.
There is no reason that if Cove or Elgin can do it safely, that LeGrand can't do it safely as well.
Right.
And my wife, I think, teaches in Union, and after that first spring, when they did go back in the fall under that early opening is what I call it, that year she missed 3 days of school because of someone in her cohort of students getting COVID or being, like the whole class being exposed in one way or another.
Yeah.
And she never ended up with COVID during that time. It was significantly later.
Yeah.
And a little bit of a surprise. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting job. I say it all the time. I love it. I love being a teacher. But this one's no 2 days are the same. And I mean, like yesterday, I started at 9, which is not especially early, but went 9, 10, 11, 12, 1:30, 2:30, and then 3 for meetings. And yeah, and one of them, I would do that meeting over in a heartbeat. It was so heartwarming to me. There's, and I'm going to let Sheriff Bowen visit about it because he's really the one that brought it to the community. But it's going to be life changing for young people in our community.
And he has mentioned that.
He
on
has
the show.
mentioned
Yeah.
that already.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, Friends of the Children.
Right.
And I've read the book, and the whole time I'm reading the book, you could kind of see what it was leading up to, the structure of the program.
Right.
And I'm thinking, there's no way they're going to be able to pull this off.
Right.
But 12 years of mentorship for people from age 5 to 17 or age 6 to 18-ish. And minimum of 4 hours a week with that child, and really trying to work on, the way I view it, giving them hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, and I was in that meeting
Yep.
too, and I'm meeting with Angela later on this morning, and
Great.
so yeah, it's super impactful, and yeah, and it not only brings hope to those kids, it brings hope to a community like ours.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but coming out of the meeting, what I realized, but it's a long game. I mean, because even if when it does start here in LeGrand, you're starting with 4 to 6 year old kids and mentoring them for a long time.
Right.
So we've still got a lot to do for the kids that are
Right.
in the wake right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Sheriff Bowen says he's so excited for our kids to have a chance with that
Yeah.
program.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he's talked about it on the last Keeping It Clear with Cody Bowen. We talked about that quite a bit, actually.
Well, cool. Thank you so much for being
bet.
here. Yeah.
I'll never ask you to have a meeting with me. You got my word on that.
but what if I ask you?
Then I'll oblige. But I'll never say, "Hey, Paul, you want to meet?" No. I'll just catch you. I couldn't do that. I could not do. I can't even hardly do one meeting in a day, let alone
A week.
6.
Yeah. But-
Well, yeah. And I think you and I are going to have many more meetings together.
Okay. Yeah, it's and I've told every one of the candidates that I would be more than happy to visit with them. So yeah, I think it's important that folks that are filed know what they're getting into,
Yeah.
and to that point know what they can and can't do. One of the ones that I get fairly often is there's potholes in my road, and I understand that, but it's not like we're going to do yours because we like you and not do yours because we don't like you. But I mean, we actually have a system in place for how we prioritize the roads,
Yeah.
and it's mostly based on traffic counts.
Yeah.
And that can be a really difficult conversation at times.
There are some areas that are pretty bad.
Yeah, roads.
Especially back behind the library here.
Yeah.
Going
Yeah.
west.
Yeah, but that's a city
Perfect
thing.
example.
Yeah.
Perfect example.
Yeah, city
That
thing.
is City of LeGrand.
Oh, that is. Huh?
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
not
right.
trying to throw
Yeah,
them
yeah,
under
you're
the
right,
bus
you're
because
right.
I know we've got places in Union County.
Oh
that-
no, I will call Kyle. He's the one. No, but
Yeah.
but what the public doesn't understand, whether it's city or county, is that curbs and gutters and roads are tremendously expensive. You know, I mean, the city of LeGrand decided to use their ARPA money. I think it's about $3 million to work on roads. Okay, well, so then I asked Kyle. I said, how many? What's the percentage of road that will restore?
Not very much.
Less than 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it just people have no idea how
Right. And
expensive that is. Yeah.
Yeah, and equipment, you know, dump trucks, if you, you know, and that kind of is a broad category.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking over $500,000 for
Right.
one.
Well, and people, and at any city or county, whatever the level is, except when you get to the national government. Anyhow, there's the budget has to balance.
Yes.
And so if you're going to spend more money on filling potholes, you're going to spend less money on something else.
Right.
Yeah. And so, anyhow, well, thank you. We got to get you out of here. You have a meeting here in a minute.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
And I
So
appreciate being able to come on.
yeah, get us.
Let's do it on this day, which is the 14th, Pi Day. 1743, the first American town meeting is held in Boston's Faneuil Hall. 1794, Eli Whitney patents the cotton gin machine, revolutionizing the cotton industry in the southern United States.
Wait just a second.
No,
go ahead.
If he needs to go, let him go. He's already, yeah, there you go. We can do it live. Go.
Thanks, man.
Just go, hurry up. There you go. 1870, California legislator approves act making Golden Gate Park possible. 1950, the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives program begins. 1950. 1967, JFK's body is moved from a temporary grave to a permanent memorial. 2017, the world's oldest golf club, Muirfield in Scotland, votes to admit women as members for the first time in 273 years. And then 2018, NASA twin study finds that Scott Kelly is no longer identical to his twin brother after 1 year in space.
Oh, wow.
1 year in space, 7% of his genes were altered after 1 year in space.
Really?
Yeah. 2019, Google announces its employee Emma Haruka Iwu has broken the world record for calculating pi to 31.4 trillion digits on Pi Day, which is today, using the Google Cloud. That's a lot of digits, 31.4 trillion. That's a lot. Number one song in America on this day in 1994, Ace of Base, The Sign. Quote of the day comes from Walter Bagehot. The greatest pleasure in life is doing what people say you cannot do. One more time. The greatest pleasure in life is doing what people say you cannot do.
All right.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're out till Tuesday.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
For
being
running
here.
across right during my...
Yeah, being here this
Yeah,
morning. Yeah.
You know, oh, one more thing before we go.
Yeah.
You know how you guys were talking about the governor.
Uh-huh.
So, like, for me, I haven't heard anything about her, and that's a good thing. You know what I mean? Like, when
Yeah,
Brown
right.
was in, all you heard was people all the time. Right. I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anybody. So, I mean, she must be doing something better, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I have an opinion on that, but so does everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying I've noticed that I haven't heard people
but the one
complaining
the
near
one
as
thing
much.
I appreciate is that she's making an effort to get to know us and to be aware. And that has not always been the case with the governors that we've had in the past. You know, there have been some of them that they very seldom have made a trip to Eastern Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, all right. Thanks, Eastern Oregon. We'll see you soon.